My name is Dave Bykowski, and it is my honor and privilege to serve as the chief moderator for this championship match between these two teams. We began the weekend with 32 teams in competition. After 1.5 days worth of preliminary rounds, we got to the playoffs this afternoon, where the top 16 moved on through single elimination play, and now we are down to these two. One of them will represent the Army in about an hour in the Joint Service Championship against the champions from the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marine Corps. We'll introduce the teams, starting with the Blue Buzzers. From Burke, Virginia, Lake Braddock Secondary School. Lake Braddock comes into this match with a 12-0 record, the only undefeated team among the 32 teams in Army competition. They entered the playoffs as the #1 seed. This is their 6th appearance at JLab, their 2nd time in the final match. They were the 2022 champions. Their opponents, with the White Buzzers, from Memphis, Tennessee, White Station High School. White Station comes in with an 11-1 record. They came into the playoffs as the #2 seed. This is their 9th appearance at JLab. Their 3rd time in the finals. They were champions in 2019 and runners-up in 2022 to Lake Braddock. Teams, we will begin with a buzzer and microphone check. So starting closest to me and working our way across the stage, if you could please, one at a time, buzz in, and using your push-to-talk mics, give your name and what year in school you will be.
Joshua Guillen, senior.
Hudson Huynh, rising junior.
Eric Peters, rising senior.
Kellen Peters, rising sophomore.
Eva Stidham, rising sophomore.
Neha Kadali, rising senior.
Chris Kirkland, rising senior.
Shruti Iyengar, rising junior.
Again, congratulations, teams. Before we begin, do you have any questions for me? Seeing none, we begin this championship match with the first quarter. The first quarter consists of 8 toss-ups worth 10 points each. Teams, hands on your buzzers. Good luck. Here is toss-up number 1. Pencil and paper ready. Lev needs to know how many 3-pointers he made in a basketball game, given that every basket he made was worth either 2 or 3 points, and he scored a total of 29 points on 12 baskets. By either setting up a system of equations using total points and total baskets, or noting how many points he would have scored had every shot been worth 2 points, he finds, for 10 points, what number of 3-pointers. Any takers? Yes, Lake Braddock. Your answer, please.
1.
That's incorrect. 5 seconds. White Station.
5.
5 is correct for 10 points. Number 2. As the 2nd governor of New York, this man signed a 1799 law gradually emancipating all slaves. This final Secretary of Foreign Affairs, under the Articles of Confederation, wrote 5 of the 85 essays in the Federalist Papers. White Station.
Jay.
That is correct. John Jay, 10 points. Number 3. This character asks pardon from a bleeding piece of earth before imagining a spirit letting slip the dogs of war. This man offers his mentor a crown during the Lupercalia. This character keeps ironically praising his rival as an honorable man in a speech he gives at a murdered general's funeral. The Friends, Romans, Countrymen speech is given by, for 10 points, what rival of Brutus in White Station?
Julius Caesar.
That is incorrect. I'll continue. Rival of Brutus in William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Buzz in if you want it. Lake Braddock.
Mark.
More specific, please.
Mark Antony.
That's what we needed. Good for 10 points. Both teams on the board. Number 4. This man partly titles an 1877 grand opera in which a rising and falling oboe solo opens a third-act bacchanal. This man partly titles a closet drama published alongside Paradise Regained by John Milton, whose title describes him as Agonistes. This man dies by bringing down a Philistine temple after revealing to a woman that his long hair gives him strength. Lake Braddock. Answer, please.
Samson.
Samson is correct for 10 points. A quick pause here, a caution to the audience. You'd be surprised how far your voice can sometimes carry in an auditorium like this. So I know how much fun it is to play along at home. I like playing along at home with Jeopardy for sure. But please keep your voices as absolutely as quiet as possible. If you must, feel free to go and write down answers if you want to share with the folks around you. But please try not to talk. We want to make sure our competitors have the best fair opportunity to compete as possible. Thank you very much. We'll move on to toss-up number 5. After 12 and 18, this number is the third smallest abundant number, meaning that the sum of its proper divisors is greater than the number itself. The dual of the dodecahedron has this number of faces. This number is the base of vigesimal number systems, such as that of the Mayans. Lake Braddock.
16.
That is incorrect. I'll continue. An icosahedron has this number of faces. For 10 points, what is this number? The perimeter of a square with sides of length 5. White Station.
20.
20 is correct for 10 points. Number 6. During this conflict, governors in the southeast formed a mutual defense pact. Bishop Gregorio Grassi was killed during this event in the Tayuan massacre. Insurgents in this conflict were supported by Muslim troops called the Gansu Braves. The Eight-Nation Alliance intervened in this conflict against the wishes of Empress Dowager Cixi. For 10 points, name this anti-Western Chinese... Lake Braddock.
The Boxer Rebellion.
You got it, 10 points. Next toss-up. For decades, the entrance to this bay was guarded by Fort Point, which was part of the local Presidio. Frank Morris likely drowned in this bay after a 1962 jailbreak. Until 1940, most Asian immigrants to the U.S. were processed... White Station.
San Francisco.
Correct, 10 points. Final toss-up of the first quarter. This artist added the caption, "Sad forebodings of what is going to happen," to an etching of a starved man, the first in a series of 82 plates. Turban-clad cavalry attack a crowd in a painting by this artist of the disasters of war. A work by this artist of The Charge of the Mamluks shows a man with hands outstretched about to be shot by French troops. For 10 points, what Spanish artist painted the 3rd of May, 1808? White Station.
Francesco.
That is incorrect. 5 seconds to ring in, Lake Braddock. Lake Braddock.
Jose.
Incorrect. Francisco Goya was the name of that artist. That's the end of the first quarter. Our official scorekeeper for the match, Chris Noon, has confirmed the score as shown: Lake Braddock 30, White Station 40. The second quarter is the toss-up bonus round. There are 4 toss-ups, each worth 10 points. A correct answer to a toss-up earns a team the points and the first opportunity at a 3-part bonus totaling 30 points. Missed bonus parts bounce back to the other team, who then has the chance to steal those points for that part with a correct answer. Teams, hands on your buzzers for the first toss-up of quarter number 2. In one poem, this author described a night in his most immemorial year when the skies were ashen and sober. Another of his poems depicts a blood-red creature that writhes while consuming people, to the horror of angels who are watching. This author of Ulalume and The Conqueror Worm wrote a poem in which a tapping at the speaker's chamber door, Lake Braddock,
Edgar Allan Poe.
is correct for 10 points, and a bonus. For 10 points each, answer the following about polynomials. First, if f is a polynomial, this is the term for a value x such that f of x equals 0. It's a bonus, no need to ring in. You can just talk into the mic. Your answer, please.
The y-intercept.
That is incorrect. Chance to steal, White Station.
Root.
Root is what we're going for there, correct? Back to Lake Braddock for part 2. This type of function can be written as some polynomial divided by another non-zero polynomial.
A rational function.
That is correct. And finally, every polynomial has this property of having continuous derivatives of every order.
Differentiable.
I'm looking for more specific. There is a specific term that I'm looking for.
A differential. Equation.
Incorrect. Over to White Station.
Continuously differentiable.
We're looking for smooth as the answer there specifically on that. So 10 points for each team on that bonus. Toss-up question number 2. Cancer in this organ may result from malignancies in adenomatous polyps. In a common medical procedure, a fiber optic or CCD camera is used to examine this organ. This organ contains a pouch called the cecum, which is connected to a structure once believed to be vestigial, the appendix. Water absorption is a main function of, for 10 points, what upside-down U-shaped digestive... Lake Braddock.
The colon.
Yes, I can accept that. Good for 10 points. A number of answers acceptable there, and some of them at different points in the question, but you got it, and you get the bonus. A kingdom named for this city was ruled by France's Louis XII between 1501 and 1504, before he was forced to cede it to Habsburg Spain. For 10 points each, first, what major city named the kingdom contested in the Third Italian War?
Florence.
Incorrect. Chance to steal. White Station. Need an answer.
Rome.
Also incorrect. Naples, the answer on that one. Back to Lake Braddock for part 2. Louis's failure to maintain control over Naples was criticized by this contemporary political philosopher in his book, The Prince.
Machiavelli.
That's it. And finally, a French king with this name began the Italian Wars in 1494, but died after hitting his head on the top of a door, enabling Louis to succeed him. Your answer, please.
Garibaldi.
Incorrect. Chance to steal. White Station.
Henry.
Also incorrect. Charles was the answer there, specifically Charles VIII or Charles the Affable. Not sure if the bump on the head actually caused his death, though, interestingly. You do pick up 10 points for Machiavelli on the bonus. And we'll go on to toss-up question number 3. This U.S. state contains most surviving ruins of the Hohokam culture, including the site of Snaketown. The Havasupai Indian Reservation in this state is entirely surrounded by a national park. A senator from this state, nicknamed Mr. Conservative, lost the 1964 presidential election in a landslide to Lyndon Johnson. Barry Goldwater was from, for 10 points, what southwestern state that contains the Great? That is Lake Braddock.
Go for it.
Answer:
Arizona.
Arizona is correct for 10 points, and a bonus coming your way. In 2024, several House Democrats challenged more senior colleagues for committee leadership roles. For 10 points each, first, this progressive New York Congresswoman, often known by her three initials, launched a bid to lead Democrats on the House Oversight Committee. We're looking for her full last name. Your answer, please.
Johnson.
Incorrect. Chance to steal. White Station.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yep, you can give her full name too. That's good for 10 points. We go back to Lake Braddock for part 2. This Maryland representative, a ranking member of the Committee on Oversight and Accountability and chair of its Civil Rights and Civil Liberties Subcommittee, took charge of Democrats on the Judiciary Committee. Captain, your answer, please. Time. I'll go over to White Station.
Wells.
Incorrect. Jamie Raskin was the answer there. Back to Lake Braddock for part 3. This state's 79-year-old Congressman David Scott faced a challenge to his ranking member role on the Agriculture Committee. In 2025, this state's U.S. senators are Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff. Captain, your answer, please.
Wisconsin.
Incorrect. White Station, chance to steal.
Georgia.
That is correct for another 10 points. 20 points total stolen by White Station on the bonus. Teams, this is the final toss-up of this quarter. During Reconstruction in this state, many former slaves were killed by a mob on Easter in the Colfax Massacre. John Marshall Harlan wrote that the Constitution is colorblind in an 1896 dissent opposing the Separate Car Act in this state. In Plessy v. Ferguson, the Supreme Court ruled against a Creole man from this state. For 10 points, what state was home to the most populous Confederate city, New Orleans? White Station.
Louisiana.
Is correct for 10 points, and this bonus. When this keyword is followed by an asterisk, the query will return all columns. For 10 points each, first, give this 6-letter name of a statement whose optional clauses include group by and order by.
Define.
Incorrect. Chance to steal. Lake Braddock. Need an answer.
First, last.
Select is what we're going for there. Back over to White Station for part 2. Queries are written with select statements in this programming language that is used to manage relational databases. It has a 3-letter name.
SQL.
That's correct. And the final part, SQL was created by this American tech company. This company's Watson AI competed against Brad Rutter and Ken Jennings on Jeopardy.
IBM.
That's right for another 10 points, 20 earned on the bonus, and that's the end of the quarter. The score as shown is confirmed. Lake Braddock 80, White Station 100. We'll take a break from the buzzers for just a moment here. The third quarter is the category round. The team trailing at this point in the match chooses one of the 3 categories for themselves. Each category has 10 questions just for that team. There are no bounce backs on any of them. Then the other team will select from the remaining 2 categories. So one category will not be used. Lake Braddock, since you trail, you get the first selection here. The 3 categories available are U in science, That's the capital letter U in quotation marks. Mussolini and trees. I'll go and read those one more time. U in science, letter U in quotation marks. Mussolini and trees.
U in science.
Okay, U in science is your selection. Again, no need to ring in on these. These are yours and yours alone. For 10 points each, give these science terms that begin with the letter U. Ready? Here we go. The seventh planet from the sun.
Uranus.
Yes. Form of light with wavelengths shorter than visible light.
Ultraviolet.
Correct. Radioactive element used as nuclear fuel.
Uranium.
Uh-huh. Werner Heisenberg's principle stating the limits of measuring a particle.
Uncertainty principle.
Correct. Nitrogenous base found in RNA.
Uracil.
It is number 6. Longer of the two bones in the forearm.
Ulna.
Yes. Darkest part of a shadow formed by an eclipse. Answer, please.
Underside.
Umbra is the answer we're going for there. Fleshy structure at the back of the mouth.
Uvula?
You got it, yes. Rising air current present in thunderstorms.
Updraft.
Uh-huh. And finally, type of equilibrium in which any small change leads to further movement away from equilibrium.
Unstable.
Yes, that's the word we're going for, and there's the end of your category. Nicely done. 8 correct gives you 80 more points. Oh, 9 correct, excuse me. There we go. Thank you. Missed one. 9 correct takes you to 170 points. And now we go to White Station. 2 categories remain: Mussolini and trees.
Treaties.
Trees is your selection. For 10 points each, identify these things whose names include or sound like they include types of trees. Ready? Here we go. The tree gifted by Athena to Athens, whose fruit is commonly pressed for oil.
Olive.
Yes. Victorious general's wreath in a Roman triumph. Your answer, please.
Christmas.
Laurel wreath is what we're going for there. Kenneth Grahame book featuring Mr. Toad.
Frog and Toad.
The Wind in the Willows is the answer there. Creator of the Cherokee syllabary. Your answer, please.
Sequoia.
Yes, that's right. Rhyming nickname of Howard Hughes's H-4 Hercules airplane.
Humpty Dumpty.
It would have some bumpy takeoffs, I bet. That one would. The Spruce Goose is what we're going for. Number 6. Ottorino Respighi tone poem that uses a recorded nightingale. Your answer, please.
Nightingale.
Pines of Rome is the answer there. Robert Frost poem stating, one could do worse than be a swinger of these title trees. Answer, please.
Willow.
Birches, the answer there. Tree that was the source of quinine. Answer, please.
Baobab.
The Cinchona, or Cinchona. The first Prime Minister of Singapore.
She.
Lee Kuan Yew is the tree part there, Yew. And finally, 1944 Washington, D.C. Conference that laid the foundations of the UN. Answer, please.
NATO.
The Dumbarton Oaks Conference was the answer there. Tough category, picking up 2 for 20 more points, taking you to 120 and the end of the quarter. So going into the fourth quarter, we currently have a score of Lake Braddock 170, White Station 120. The fourth quarter consists of 8 toss-up questions worth 20 points each, very much anybody's game. Teams, hands on your buzzers. Here we go with number 1. In Dante's Inferno, these figures look down from a high tower and threaten to summon Medusa as they guard the city of Dis. Lake Braddock.
Gargoyles?
Incorrect, I'll continue. In Virgil's Aeneid, Amata is possessed by one of these figures named Alecto. Aeschylus concluded the Orestia by describing how these figures were renamed the kindly ones, or Eumenides. In Greek myth, criminals who violate the natural order are punished by, for 20 points, what trio of winged women? Buzz in if you want it, White Station. Yep, White Station.
The Furies.
The Furies is right for 20 points. Number 2. In this country, Governor Nelsie Cruz managed to alert its president to a disaster in which she was mortally wounded. A disaster in this country took place at a venue called Jet Set and killed former Major League Baseball pitcher Octavio Dotel and others who paid to see Ruby Perez, a merengue singer. In April 2025, over 200 people died when a nightclub roof collapsed in, for 20 points, what Caribbean country's capital of Santo Domingo? That is White Station.
Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic, correct for 20. Number 3. The angular diameter form of this quantity can be measured using baryon acoustic oscillations as a standard. This quantity's namesake logarithmic modulus is the difference between the apparent and absolute magnitudes. This quantity is determined using sources of known luminosity called standard candles. Astronomical units and parsecs are units of White Station.
Distance.
Correct, 20 points. Number 4. This empire's government was referred to as the Sublime Porte. This empire lost territory in the Treaty of San Stefano, which led to the establishment of an autonomous Bulgaria. This empire's different religious groups were managed under the Millet system. The 19th century Tanzimat reforms modernized this empire. The 1920 Treaty... White Station.
Ottoman.
Correct, 20 points. Number 5. This country, whose coast is indented by the Gulf of Sidra, contains the coastal Roman ruins of Leptis Magna, the birthplace of Septimius Severus. In 1805, U.S. Marines fought the Battle of Derna in what is now this country during the First Barbary War. Lake Braddock.
Tunisia.
That is incorrect, I'll continue. Along with Algeria, it is one of 2 countries bordering Tunisia. For 20 points, what North African country's capital is Tripoli? Buzz in if you want it, White Station.
Trinidad.
Buzz in if you want it. Okay, White Station.
Libya.
That is correct for 20 points. Number 6. The largest of these proteins is a pentamer that can bind to C1 to initiate the classical complement pathway. The 5 isotypes of these proteins are IgD, IgE, IgA, IgM, and IgG. These proteins consist of identical pairs of heavy chains and light chains. As part of humoral immunity, Lots of these proteins are secreted by plasma cells, a mature form of B cell. For 20 points, what Y-shaped proteins bind to antigens? White Station.
Antibody.
Correct, 20 points. Number 7. This emperor ordered the general Corbulo to kill himself several years after agreeing to a truce at Rondea with the Parthians. Another of this man's generals stopped a rebellion of the Iceni, led by Queen Boudica. After this emperor put down the revolt of Vindex, he was ousted by Galba, starting the year of the 4 emperors. For 20 points, what final Julio-Claudian emperor ruled during the Great Fire of Rome? White Station.
Nero.
Yes, 20 points. Final toss-up of the match. In this play, Bob and other children come inside from a snowball fight and have a game of hide-and-seek with their mother. 2 widowed people in this play reunite as a tarantella is danced upstairs at a costume ball. After a job at a bank is given to Christine, this play's protagonist is blackmailed over forged loan papers by Krogstad. Torvald treats his wife Nora like a toy in, for 20 points, what play by Henrik Ibsen? White Station.
White Station.
That's incorrect. 5 seconds to ring in, Lake Braddock.
Lake Braddock.
Also not Lake Braddock, surprisingly. It is called A Doll's House. Teams, that is the end of the match. Our final score, as shown, is confirmed. Lake Braddock 170, White Station 260. Congratulations, White Station. We will see you back up here again for the Joint Service Championship in a little bit. Both teams, thank you very much for an excellent championship match. And we hope all of you will join us. We are planning to start the Joint Service Championship at around 5 p.m. Thank you.